So you can imagine my delight when I enter your world and I'm like, there's an emotional piece, there's a
Yeah.
spiritual piece, like,
Yeah.
oh, praise the Lord, like, wonderful. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll definitely get into that. But one question that I really love.
You are listening to the Circle of Life podcast, where conversations on life, healing, and the human experience walk us home over and over again. I am your host, Ellen, and this is a home for the healing, a place for curious minds, big hearts, and a different kind of conversation. The Circle of Life podcast serves to invoke the deepest parts of you and remind you that you are your greatest resource. If you, like me, value depth, raw conversations, and a good old-fashioned dose of heart-to-heart medicine, this space is especially akin to you. Together, we'll remember the capacity of our human spirit and what it means to be healing, whole, and a part of this extraordinary circle of life. I hope you find as much medicine and resonance in the words and stories shared as I do in bringing them to you. It's truly such an honor to have you here. G'day and welcome.
What is the deepest purpose of your work, and why does it matter, especially right now at this time?
Oh, it's a good question. And I'm just sensing into it right now. So really the deepest purpose of my work is bringing people home to themselves, to be able to, you know, to be able to be in connection with themselves and therefore in connection with the world around them, the people around them, nature, all the fundamentals that lay the ground rules for what it is to be a human animal on this planet. And there's a few reasons for that. One is because, well, basically I want people to be able to tap into and feel a lot more joy. Like that's one of the simplest reasons. Because a lot of us, for a multitude of different reasons, are in a world of doing, stress, and seriousness, especially in this culture as we, become adults, our perception and, guidance into those years is often around, okay, it's time to get serious now, and when we've got healing work to do, it often becomes like it's hard work, and I've been there making it hard work for myself in the past as well. And we have, gosh, a wealth of history that has brought us to where we are now. And it's about reconnecting, uncovering, shedding light on, and reconnecting with those things so that we can actually integrate all parts of ourselves and bring all of us to the table when it comes to how we're living our life, what we can offer to ourselves, others in the world. Because I think the butterfly effect of that is a new world, is a different world, So there's a grand scale purpose, and then there's a very simple at-home purpose as well, which is more joy, more fun, more silliness. Grand scale, more compassion, more peace, more connection, more understanding, more empathy, all of those things.
Yeah, yeah, I love this so much. And for me personally, like my journey began with that, like with my health, like with actually reclaiming autonomy over my body and her systems and her ways and her cycles and her rhythms.
Mm.
And that to me was where you speak about that connection and how important that is. That's the basis. Like for me, that's it. I'm like, yeah, everything is like at its core. It's about being able to remain in connection, not just access it, but stay and sustain and maintain that deep level of connection with self, with life, with others. So for me, that journey began with reclaiming my health and really, really walking myself into symptoms. And this was like over 12 years ago, and you would know, you've been in the space over 20 years, like what it was like even back, even a decade ago, like how different it was back then. And I'm, in naturopaths' offices, and I'm having like all these different conversations literally about poo and, like all these different things that I would never
Yeah.
have had conversations about. And it literally led me back to that place of beautiful connection where I became someone who, like, I don't need an external proof to really validate and acknowledge like a deep inner truth. Like I don't need that.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
that to me is like the basis of this. So
Right. That's a big part of the medicine. Yeah.
yeah.
And a lot of people, it is physical health symptoms is very frequently the doorway into coming home to ourselves, right?
Mm,
Because until we're at a level of discomfort that we want to create some change, we just keep going how we are, and we will often just call that fate as well, right? It's just
mm,
that's just my life. That's the cards I was dealt, or this is just me. This is, we all have these identities that we take on, and then I guess there's two parts to what I want to share next. One is for many years, how one reason why I was so passionate about working with nutrition and food with people is because it really was a doorway into how does it make you feel,
mm,
right? So it's that doorway into that connection with self. And I change this thing and then I feel different. That's interesting, isn't it? Right? And then because we start noticing what makes us feel different, we're like, well, what had I learnt before that I thought was truth or real that I'm now finding out maybe isn't? And maybe what else isn't? It starts
mm,
piquing that curiosity. And then you start looking into how was your food farmed, or where was it farmed, or like how did it get from where it was produced to your table? And then you start looking at different farming techniques, and then you start like noticing actually it's not just an impact on our physical health, it's an impact on the soil, on environmental health, on how much economy plays a role, the impact it has on economy and the healthcare system. And all of a sudden, like the perspectives gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you're looking at it from this systems point of view, and we can then start to actually make choices and play a proactive role in that, which is not only for ourselves, but for that greater system as well, right?
mm,
So that was really how I viewed it for many, many years, and I still do. And now there's also the piece that has become really clear for me that our symptoms or our conditions, our diagnoses, they are all invitations to bring us back into alignment, and it's a situation of your body. Our bodies are so intelligent. They're so exquisitely intelligent. And what they're doing right now, they're not doing it wrong. Whatever is going on, it's not wrong. It's actually incredibly adaptive to whatever the situation is that we're in right now. And so, like, I was just about to write a little piece on, your hormones are not imbalanced, your life is. Like that's kind of it in a
mm,
nutshell, right?
mhm,
So it's not about how can I fix all these things with me so that I can have a great life. It's more how can I create a great life so that I have nothing to fix, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, and it's really, particularly when you're working with people who have chronic complex conditions, which has been the bulk of my practice over the last 24 years, it's about bringing us back into alignment with ourselves because we get so conditioned from our family systems, from our schools, from our local cultures, from the greater, wider culture, society. And all of that over time puts all these layers on that aren't really us, aren't the full expression of ourselves. And so we have all these adaptive behaviors, but all these adaptive behaviors are not necessarily aligned with us as a human animal. And so that's where our symptoms are coming from. So when we get back in line with what is true or correct for us as a human animal with a soul and a spirit and an emotional being, by coming back to that, that's the big medicine, you know. And yes, I absolutely love herbs and nutritious food and all of that kind of thing. But that only works to a point, you know, it helps to a point. And what I find these days is often it's actually most of the time they're used as scaffolding. You know, they're not the solution to the root cause of the problem. They're there to provide support and to perhaps lift you out of a bit of a funk so that there's a bit more capacity to be able to respond, but they're not actually the medicine. Yeah. And so that medicine has then got to come from, okay, are my daily habits serving me? You know, am I getting enough sunshine? Am I getting good quality water? Am I fostering nourishing relationships, or do I have relationships that are really draining and where I am compromising myself? Am I doing work that I enjoy and feel a sense of purpose and fulfillment about? Or is it something I'm like, oh, I've got to get to work today and pay the bills? And is my intimate relationship or relationships, are they nourishing and supportive? Or did perhaps we come together for a season that is no longer present? Yeah. All sorts of different things. So you find that when people go on these journeys, big changes start to happen in their life. Which, and I don't say that to, you know, scare people off starting, but there's got to be a little bit of, I think, a reality check in there sometimes as well, particularly these days when there are so many different therapies and diets and biohacks and, you know, as you were speaking to before, like a SIBO diet or parasite thing, or like, is it a mold thing or an MCAS thing? It's like, ah.
That's more stressful, right?
Yeah, yeah. And it's all not looking at the big elephant in the room. Yeah. And so, and a lot of that begins with our nervous system. So naturopaths are famous for saying, as is Hippocrates, all disease or all health begins in the gut. Yeah. Which in many ways is largely true, but it's not entirely. It really, and step beyond that is it starts in the nervous system, right? So if we're constantly in a survival pattern that we're not even aware of because it's so normal to us, that's what we've grown up with,
Yeah.
then that's running the show because survival trumps everything else. Survival trumps sex hormones. Survival trumps digestion. If we're not alive, none of those other things matter.
Yeah.
And there's a cascade that happens from that stimulation of those survival neurotransmitters and hormones that impact all of our other hormones and all of our cellular function. So we really want to get back to what are those patterns in the subconscious that we don't even know that we're playing, that are running the show. And as Jung says, we're calling it fate until we shine a light on those shadows or those patterns, we just call them fate. And as I said before, oh, it's just me. That's my life. That's my fate. That's my destiny. Is it? Don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love challenging that. It's good. You know, I was thinking about this before about, you know, that resistance we sometimes feel in life when we feel that pressure. We can feel it. We're not, like you said, we're so intelligent. We can tell, we can feel it when there's, you know, metamorphosis or growth or something that's ready to emerge. We can feel it. And that resistance, I often, I'm a very visual person, so I sort of see it like this like invisible field around us, and it's just life putting pressure on us, and we can either you know like shrink, or we can start to, you know, push back a little bit and expand and expand our capacity for that, and in turn, you know, our nervous system becomes, you know, so much more resilient. We can meet challenge. Like there's just another cascade of events that occurs.
Mhm.
So zooming out a little bit from all of this, because what you just shared is, I know I've been there. I've experienced that before, that experience of like, okay, I'm gonna, I can feel that pressure. I can feel that resistance. I can feel all these symptoms that are occurring for me, the stress, the fatigue, for me, like way early on, like it was, yeah, like extreme menstrual pain, like hormone imbalance, like water retention, bloating, just really, run of the mill kind of symptoms. And it did feel really overwhelming, but sort of exciting at the same time to sort of embark on that journey. And for me, there's something really special in that. Like even today, like jumping on this podcast, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get to chat to Helen. Like there's that fear and that resistance, but then I drop into it and my body actually becomes alive. And I think
Mhm.
there's such medicine in that. My body's actually speaking to me. It's alive. It's bubbling, it's fizzing. It's like this is actually really beautiful. Like it's coming alive in response
Yeah.
to something that's, a bit bigger than me, which is, I think,
Yeah.
really beautiful. So just zooming out a little bit, could you speak a little bit more into sort of like if someone is in a space where they are actually, in that experience where like they're ready to sort of take that first step or just start that journey, like they're feeling that resistance, a little bit of pressure, maybe a little bit of overwhelm. They're looking out into the online world now, which, as you know, can be quite a lot for the nervous system.
Mhm.
Like, and there's so many different things to tap into. Like, yeah, could you speak into just that, like just that?
Yeah, yeah. So a few things. I think, first of all, it's really understandable to feel some trepidation about it, right? Because a lot of when we're approaching that um, invitation, that time for metamorphosis, where it's time to, the next level of our evolution, it can feel really scary because what had kept us where we were prior, say we go back to those patterns were there for a good reason early on. We grow out of the need for them, but we keep the patterns playing as we grow up. And then to move out of those patterns can feel terrifying because at one point we had it was either literal or it was perceived that those patterns kept us alive. So to let go of that pattern can feel like, oh my God, I'm going to die on one end of the spectrum. Or it can just feel a bit uncomfortable, depending which pattern it is. But it's not a comfortable feeling either way. But it'll range from, oh, that's a bit, to fear, terror, panic, I'm going to die. Yeah. And so it's no wonder that people will go, but what other herb can I take?
Yeah.
What other diet can I do? What other this? What is the other thing that I can do that is anything other than that? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so first is to acknowledge that. And second is the importance of drop doses, really, like starting off small. Because when we do this in drop or bite-sized mouthfuls, we it's a bit like exercising a muscle, and we gradually build trust in the process, in
Mm-hmm.
ourselves and in the process. Yeah. Because whenever we are going through a change, there is always an element of the unknown on the other side, and that can bring up a bit of fear, and that's where we need the trust in something bigger than ourselves. Yeah. But then we also need to have the trust in ourselves that actually I can move through this discomfort. Yeah. So you want to start off on small things. And again, that's why starting off with how you're eating or what you have for breakfast, like one simple small thing, or in 9b9, what does it feel like to make no other changes but to bring veggies in? Like simple as that. By doing that and then going, okay, well, I thought that was going to be a bit uncomfortable, or maybe it even was a bit uncomfortable, but now I actually feel better. Cool. Okay. What's the next thing I can do? And you just keep doing that and building. It's not like you have to go from here
Mm-hmm.
to enlightenment in one step. It's not.
If you're a woman who has ever experienced dissociation, collapse, a closed heart, shutdown, or perhaps just a deep numbing out and frozenness that feels sometimes like you are just so stuck in place, unable to respond or move in the direction or towards the goals that really, really matter to you, I'd like to introduce you to my new signature retreat, Syndesis. This is an immersion for women who are typically over 30 years of age, who are ready to come fully alive in their bodies, in their minds, in their spirits. Syndesis has been formulated as a complete journey, flesh and bone deep, to offer you the very medicine that you need to repair the disruption, the dissociation, the disconnection, and the severance that is truly implicating your ability to trust yourself, to know your worth, and to journey powerfully through the fires of your deepest initiations and transitions in life as a woman who is choosing the path of breaking chains and mending generational trauma. So this is an experience that reflects the times that we are living in, and it offers you the ceremonies, somatic healing, the self-study, the nervous system rewiring and healing that will genuinely lead you into greater depths and levels of embodiment for yourself, for connection, for discernment and capacity, right? So that you can really truly remain in connection with yourself, with others, with spirit, with community, as you participate in your deepest work. Now, this immersion is a truly powerful experience, and it is a nervous system recalibration that will deliver you into new levels of self-attunement and responsiveness. It offers you the gift of being able to pause, to listen, and to respond in new ways. And isn't that what it's all about? This is the medicine of both old and new ways for the sake of mending that severance that exists anywhere in your life. And if you're ready to step into a world that may very well, in the best ways, challenge everything that you've come to know about healing, about change, about growth, about transformation, about self-help, an experience that will truly, truly ask you to acknowledge the sacred power that you carry as a woman and as a being of this earth, check out the link, the show notes.
Going to happen.
Yeah.
So, baby steps and bringing a lot of, I think the tools that help the most are curiosity, compassion, and kindness. You know, those three things, we bring that to ourselves in the process. And then regardless of what's happening, rather than, shirking away from it, we can be like, that's interesting. I wonder what's going on there, you know? So, and that kindness, okay, yeah, I can feel that's a bit scary right now. It's okay. I've got this, you know, bringing that kindness to ourselves so super ego doesn't give us a hard time. And then over time, you can start taking a bit of a bigger bite off the piece, yeah? But because you've got all those, you've got that experience now of, it was uncomfortable, but I got through it and I feel better now. It was uncomfortable, got better, got through it, feel better now, you know? And that just keeps on going and going and going. Like for me now, 45, I feel better than I was when I was a teenager because of that all along the way, okay?
Yes, I love that.
I plan to continue that.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, and it is so rewarding. That's the beautiful thing about it. Like courage is rewarded. Yeah, it really is. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I suggest. One step at a time. And you know, the other analogy is the good old story of the tortoise wins the race. It's not about doing everything perfectly right now. It's about those little micro changes now that down the track ends up making a big difference, right? So just that tiny veer back into your own lane, your own direction, that's what gets you there.
Yeah. And those experience, like I'm big on experiences, like those experiences, every single time you take that little bite-sized piece and you move fully through it, you have that somatic anchor in your body, that proof in your body, in your nervous system that's like, I can do that. I can do this. I actually have this. And now you've got proof. And it's sort of that your capacity for hard things and for challenging yourself and for moving through those layers of resistance, it increases and comes with you. Like you don't just leave it behind, like you integrate it and it comes with you. And that's part of the foundation that you build, like, you know, somatically in your body and in your nervous system, those deep levels that just support you so profoundly, because,
Yeah.
the journey, it is like, for me, it has certainly been, I find, especially when it comes to autonomy and like true body sovereignty, I find a lot of the time it will ask you to stand in direct opposition of what is normal. And
Mm.
that in and of itself is difficult. That's like, and what is normal, right? Like I think about, culturally, systemically, even in our families, in our friend groups, like this, I can understand why people feel terrified and scared and like yeah, it's a lot. So to stand in opposition, it will require that courage for sure.
Yeah, and as I regularly say, what the world needs now is more good rebels. Yeah.
Yes, I love that.
Because we've got so many of us have been uh I guess indoctrinated or conditioned with that good girl, good boy complex.
Yeah.
And that is the way that we will belong and fit in.
Mm,
Where it actually couldn't be further from the truth. It's actually really isolating to fit in. Yeah. Then you're amongst people you can't really be yourself with. And if you can't be yourself with them, then they don't really know who you are. And you can feel that they don't know you. So you feel lonely even when you're surrounded by people, right? But by being the good rebel and actually going, no, this is what feels right for me. I'm going to do this. Then you end up being surrounded by people who might not even be like you, but they know you and love and accept you for you. And so you can have this really diverse community of people around you and you feel totally at home, and a sense of belonging. Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, we want to fit out rather than fit in, like just be your unique self. And that's where you get that belonging. Because so much of our fear comes from um, the need to belong, which it is a basic human need. So,
Yeah.
and to your point of that lived experience as well, I mean, this is why my business is called Well Embodied, like wellness is not a mental job. You can't intellectualize your way to health. You can read all the textbooks, all the latest research, all the studies, you can read about all the woo-woo as well, but
Yeah.
none of it's actually going to land unless it's in your body and you've lived it. And it's like, it can literally feel like quite a trip to switch from a mental way of learning things, which most of us, again, are brought up
Mhm.
to value the most, to an embodied way of learning. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a game changer.
Yeah, totally. And it just brings you again, like you were speaking earlier about, like one of the deepest aspects of your work at the core, it's about expanding people's capacity for joy.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it is hard not to be joyful, at least in my experience, when I feel autonomous over my body, when I am in like complete like sensory attunement with like the littlest things. Like if I get a wave of nausea, I notice that. Like if
Mm.
I get like a twang in my left shoulder, I notice that.
Mhm.
Like I have like this such a deep relationship with my
Yeah.
body, and that feels grounding to me. That feels deeply centering to me. That feels strong. Like I feel strong. Like I know
Mm.
that I've got me, and
Yeah.
that it just feels really nice. And
Yeah.
for me personally, it does expand and more likely contribute to my capacity to experience joy, which is the
100%.
point. Yeah.
100%. And there's so many parts to it because when we're not doing that as well, we're not listening or even rejecting parts of ourselves.
Mm,
And if we're rejecting parts of ourselves, it's very difficult to feel complete because we're literally like, no, don't want that bit. Yeah. I don't want to feel that way. I'm not going to notice that. It's too uncomfortable to feel it. So I just switch off and stay in my head. But then part of us has been abandoned, left behind. So yeah, integrating all those parts so that we can actually hear and see ourselves, and it's that again that self-validation you were speaking to before is so important, and it's also to kind of talk gallbladder flush a bit, like as you will have experienced, I think, is during the program, like one of the big parts of it for me is to really encourage that in everybody who's doing it, so that
Mm.
what is your body telling you? Like connecting with those different languages of your nervous system, your physical symptoms, all those things, so that you can become more the authority of your body and what's going on for you. And so then you're less dependent on experts, like, yes, it can be valuable to, you know, connect and consult with someone to help with guidance and help with our blind spots, because we all have blind spots. So guidance is super important. We all need it in all areas of life. Um, but we don't want to hand over our self-responsibility or our autonomy with that. We want to maintain that. And in my mind and heart, any good guidance actually helps to foster your own inner guidance even more. And so by the end of the flush, a lot of the feedback I tend to get is around, I get myself and my body so much more now. I understand what's going on now. Like I know what to do in this situation now, all of that kind of stuff. And that's just like, and it's,
So good.
it's one of the things I love the most. I'm like, yes, that's right. You know. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And that's, we're going to get into the gallbladder flush. I'm so excited. But like one of my favorite components, and I know it is for a lot of people who do the gallbladder flush, is the live chats. And I have personally witnessed and experienced you literally answer so many, like hundreds of questions with like a really similar response of like, listen to your body. What is your body telling you? Like that's like your first port of call, is to remind everyone that like just first and foremost, like what is your body telling you? What is it saying?
Mhm.
And
That's
that's everything. And the more we foster that relationship with self, this brings us back to what you were saying before, which is also a deep component of your work and mine too, is like connected people connect with other people. And this
mhm.
is the world we get to leave
Mhm.
behind. It has that amazing ripple effect.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, it doesn't take much to see with what's going on in the world that that connection is needed more than anything. Yeah.
Yeah, especially, yeah, right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
amazing. So let's switch gears into the gallbladder flush. I'm really
Yeah.
excited about this. I am really excited, firstly, as I mentioned to you before, that I'm so excited for this to be a placeholder for human beings to come and just explore this experience, because every time I do the flush, I am bombarded with my community. Their little ears prick up, their eyes perk open, and they're like, what is this? Right? Or like they might be like silently behind the screen, just like watching in, like with some curiosity or maybe a little judgment. Maybe they're a little bit like, "Ah, like another detox or whatever." And I'm like so excited to debug like a lot of that. So before we go too deep into it, could you please explain what the gallbladder flush is?
Okay. So the gallbladder flush, the way that I facilitate it is a month-long program. So there's a month of preparation, and the preparation month is all about opening up avenues of drainage and elimination. It's about really providing cells with nourishment they need to carry out their functions. It's really about supporting mitochondria and microbiome, particularly the first part. So the first part is also a standalone program itself called 9v9. So people who do the gallbladder flush get 9v9 for free as part of that. And so that's 9 days based on the work of Dr. Terry Walls. And it entails including 9 cups of veggies and a little bit of fruit each day for 9 days, no elimination of anything else. And part of the purpose for that is to really be able to take note of what one change makes. So know that you can, if you're eating macas, you can eat macas too. Like there's literally no other rules, right? And so, it's just fascinating what can transpire in those 9 days. That has blown my mind a lot over the years. And now I trust it, but it still never ceases to just amaze me. And then we go into a little bit deeper preparation, supporting detox, supporting the liver, supporting guts, and bile function. And then it all culminates with an overnight flush at the end to really flush out the gallbladder predominantly, but also the liver, right? So it's actually good for people who don't have a gallbladder as well, kind of almost more important in some ways. Hard to say what's more important because we want to keep our gallbladders if possible in the first place anyway. So maintenance, prevention's better than cure, as they say. So flush is good whether you've got gallbladder or not, basically. And it's a process that really stimulates a lot of bile release. And the idea of that is to remove any sludge, what's called gall sludge, that is accumulating in the gallbladder over time. And this gall sludge is what ends up turning into gallstones, which can then create a lot of inflammation in the gallbladder, blockage of bile flow, can even block the bile ducts, can increase risk of pancreatitis and gallbladders being removed, which are often removed very flippantly without real discussion about the long-term impacts of that. So, yeah, it's very much about saving gallbladders where possible, and then really supporting the liver as well, so that with gallbladder or not, or particularly with no gallbladder, you really want to put extra emphasis on that liver support so that you've got optimal bile production, because otherwise there's no storage device for that, for a large amount of bile to accumulate. So you've just got dribbles or trickles coming out of the liver, which means your ability to break down fat soluble vitamins and essential fatty acids is impaired. And so then we can end up with immune hormonal issues down the track, because we need those building blocks to for those systems to function well. Yeah. But the liver has so many different functions in the body, like literally hundreds. And the gallbladder and bile, often bile is just thought of in terms of digesting fats, but it plays so many more roles than that. It's really important for our detoxification of fat-soluble toxins, which again, in our modern environment, we've got much greater exposure to through plastics, xenoestrogens, pesticides, mold, what's sprayed in the air, all of those kinds of things, volatile organic compounds, building materials, you name it. A lot of that is fat soluble. We need bile to be able to remove those things from the body. So we want sufficient juicy bile flow for that. Bile is also, along with stomach acid, really important as an antimicrobial. So it helps to prevent excessive overgrowth of microbes in the small intestine. So the large intestine is where most of our microbiome is. It's full of bugs, and that's great. We want a lot of bugs there and a lot of variety of bugs there. But the small intestine, it's not sterile, but it's got very low microbial count. It's meant to. And if we've got low stomach and or bile acid, what happens is we can get overgrowths occurring, and that's where we end up with conditions like SIBO, for example, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. It can also be SIFO or SIPO, so it's not just bacteria, but also parasites and fungi that can overgrow, and that creates all sorts of uncomfortable and often very painful symptoms with the bloating, the gas, the belching, the cramping, changes in bowel habits, that kind of thing. But it also has a bigger impact too in terms of our nutrient absorption, because our small intestine is where the bulk of our nutrients are absorbed. And when we have SIBO, we get disruption of those brush border enzymes and the microvilli in the small intestine, which then impairs our ability to be able to absorb our nutrients. So then that has longer term impacts from nutrient insufficiencies or deficiencies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are a few of the big roles that bile has to play, and why we really want to make sure it is functional. So that's on the physical fronts.
Yeah.
And then And then we have the metaphysical front. And so, what a lot of people will have noticed is if they or someone they know has been on a meditation retreat, for example, or some kind of emotional work retreat, they will often come back looking physically clearer, clearer eyes, clearer skin, better energy, that kind of thing, right? Likewise, when people do a physical detox, they will often notice that they feel happier, lighter, clearer minded, more focused afterwards. And again, this is because everything in our being is connected, right? And so there are a number of emotional clues as well as physical clues that can indicate, oh, yeah, flush could be a good idea to do right now. And they're the things like, and this is essentially from a traditional Chinese medicine lens. However, in my Western practice, it's been what I have witnessed over the years as well.
Mm,
And that is liver and gallbladder are the seat of anger, frustration, and resentment, right?
mm,
So it can go both ways. If we're holding on to or suppressing a lot of those emotions, it can physically impact our liver and gallbladder. And likewise, if there have been insults, physical insults to our liver or gallbladder, it can foster more of those emotions. Yeah.
mm,
And so when we do the gallbladder flush, we're putting an emphasis not on just what we're flushing out physically with the sludge, etc.,
yeah.
but also what are we helping to shift and flush out with our emotions? Yeah. And as my teacher Karima, who often comes on to the flush for a live chat on anger, will share, emotions are energy in motion, right? If they're not in motion, they're stuckness. So there's that e-stuckness. E-stuckness creates dis-ease. And
Mm,
so things that help to get them shifting and moving, that's all good. But these are kind of crunchy emotions, aren't they? Like
mm,
they're emotions we don't necessarily love feeling a lot of the time, although sometimes anger can feel really bloody good. So like
good. Yeah.
it can feel quite, even a false anger, it can feel quite righteous and empowering and like I've got a stance kind of thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of us will suppress our anger, or we've had it repressed a lot over the years.
Mm.
Um, and the people who have the most are usually the ones who are like, I'm not an angry person. I just don't get angry. And I used to be one of those people. So
Same.
I laugh and smile with loving
Yeah.
compassion when anybody tells me they're not an angry person because it just doesn't exist. You're a unicorn.
Yeah. There's a lot to be angry about too, so.
Yeah. And anger, I'm in a school called the Diamond Approach, and
Mm,
anger is related to the red essence. And anger and the red essence, they're actually crucial for our life force energy. They are life force
mm,
energy.
mm,
Without them, things get dull and depressed, and then dysfunction happens.
yeah.
So this is a huge one as well. Some people who are not angry people are often actually quite depressed, yeah, or flat and depressed or apathetic,
Yeah.
because those emotional symptoms are signs that anger isn't being expressed. Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
And then we have things like resentment. And again, I love working with resentment because I used to feel a lot of it. Why?
Mm,
Because I had no boundaries whatsoever.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so the funny thing with resentment is, I used to feel resentful about feeling resentment because I didn't want to be a resentful person. So it was
Oh,
just
goodness.
resentment, like, damn
Yeah.
it, how do I get out of this? And again, I was resisting the resentment, right? I was
Mm,
resisting it. And there's that good old saying, what we resist persists.
yeah.
So what if we actually go, that's interesting. What is the resentment trying to tell me? What is it here for?
Mm,
I said yes when I meant no.
Yeah.
That was my responsibility. That
Mm.
wasn't outside of me, that was me. So what resentment tells me now, when it comes up, I'm like, oh, hello, resentment. Let me reflect on the last, day or two. Okay. So resentment is an indication that a boundary has been crossed and the
Mhm.
responsibility is on your side.
Mhm.
It's not someone else's responsibility, right?
Mhm.
And the classic example is saying yes to something when you don't actually really want to say yes to it. And then there's that, "Oh, I don't really want to do it. I'm going to do it." And you're not even grateful that I'm doing it. Like, you know
Mhm.
how much time and effort this, we can come.
Yeah, the stories start. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And so it's like, okay, well, that was my fault for saying yes. Okay. All right, cool. Clock to that. Next time I will um I will actually say what I mean, or I'll attempt to at least, or I'll
Yeah.
at least be aware of when I'm saying yes, when I mean no. Sometimes that's the first step because
Mhm.
sometimes putting boundaries in place can be really bloody scary if you've not had them before. Can
Yeah.
relate. It felt like this boundaries, what the hell are they? And they're just not for me. Like I don't, that's not a possibility here.
Oh dear.
But then when I started to actually practice it, I was like, ooh, that was fun. That felt good.
Good.
Can I do that again? You know?
Yeah.
So
Oh.
again, it's building that muscle and it starts to become less scary. And even at times when it is scary, it can still be scary to put a boundary in place.
Mm.
But knowing what that means now, having that awareness again brings that trust back to
Mm.
yourself and trust
Mm.
outside of yourself that actually it's going to be the best for everybody for me to say no here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that reframe. And you spoke before about survival in the nervous system and how that can sometimes, when you set a boundary, that can trigger that survival and take you back into those patterns. Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, where that boundary breaching comes from, like humans are the most dependent mammals, right?
Mhm.
We are dependent on our caregivers for the longest. Yeah. So as a result, and we know we need to belong because if we don't belong and we're not looked after, we die. It's as simple as that,
Yeah.
particularly in the first 3 years. Yeah. So what happens is then we are incredibly highly attuned, not even consciously, but back in our amygdala
Yeah.
to detect any sense of threat, whether that threat is real or perceived because of our limited understanding as an infant. Yeah.
Mm.
So as soon as we detect a threat, survival mode. Okay,
Yeah.
what can I do in this situation to make sure my needs are looked after? I'm going to cry and make sure that they know that I'm here, or I'm going to be really quiet so that I don't upset anybody because if I don't upset them, then they're going to be okay, or I'm going to, or they've got, obviously all of this isn't going on consciously, but this is
Yeah.
what the nervous system is working out. Oh, okay, if their needs are looked after, then they're going to be okay. That means I'll be okay. So I'm going to forget my needs and make sure I can look after them in whatever way I can.
Mm.
And that's a big one later on in life, in adulthood, right? Of looking
Yeah.
after everybody else before looking after ourselves. What's that? That's no boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah.
So being able to bring those boundaries back in place is really protective for us, for our nervous systems, for our energy. And it's a big part of anger. It's got a
Yeah.
big relationship with anger. So when we've got our boundaries, we can learn as well how to express our anger, and not only just how to express it and release some of the pent up anger in a way that is safe and not going to harm anyone else or yourself, but also a way to be able to have a communication with that. Because you think about any emotion that you have in your body, how do you know you are feeling it? How do you know
Mm.
you have that emotion?
Mm.
We sense it in our body. It's not just a head thing. Like someone says, I'm
Mm.
angry. Well, how do you know you're angry?
Yeah.
I can feel like this heat rising up and like my arms want to move and I'm seeing reds is even if someone's really angry. There's a reason why it's a red essence.
Yeah.
And so when we actually sit in with those sensations that are going on in our body, we can often they will settle just by noticing them, and then we'll also hear what's actually needed here. What was I needing? What needs to be done? What's right action right now? And we can respond then, rather than going out in a rage or seeping it out in some passive aggressiveness or whatever whatever,
Which is
taking it.
painful. Like that's
Yeah,
painful to carry. Like that's so painful
yeah,
for me anyway. Like when
yeah,
I'm in
heavy.
that state, yeah, it's so
Yeah,
heavy, so
yeah,
painful. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I love helping to get people actually tapped into anger and not being scared of anger anymore, and
Mm,
actually having a healthy relationship with anger and being able to work with it, and it's really enlivening. Yeah. So,
oh.
and when we do the liver and gallbladder flush,
Mm,
it really, we do some chats on this, and actually a little process to practice as well, and then also just bringing awareness and intention to what is it I'm feeling, and what other than sludge do I want to be flushing out with this
mm.
flush. And even just that is powerful for starting to initiate that conversation with your anger. Mm.
Yeah. It has certainly been such a delight for me personally. Like, I have such a, like I think a lot of women just have had such a restricted relationship with anger,
Oh,
like
absolutely.
my whole life. And there was a lot of emotional explosiveness in my childhood. So
Mm.
I was more my nervous system just like just freezes, just freeze is my go-to. So to actually be able to, and what I love about this is like, this is a gallbladder flush, and like we're going into like this metaphysical emotional aspects, and that's facilitated in a way that you do so beautifully, and to just come into relationship in a healthy way and to go through these processes and just have like just a way to
Mm.
just start to access and
Mm.
come into relationship with these experiences, these sensations, these feelings in the body. And I find, or what I have found, is that the flush can be, for me, it's such a powerful experience for me to actually get really present,
Mm.
like especially on flush night. Like I just light the candles, like all the lights go down, the journal's out, like we're taking our drinks, and but it's like I have noticed in the past, like because I've done a few now, the first one and this is my capacity for it is really increasing. It's such a beautiful, beautiful experience. Initially, like I just was so uncomfortable. I just wanted to get out of it. I just wanted to run from myself. I just wanted to put the TV on and sort of like find a way to just make it a little bit more comfortable. Like, sure, I can just put some Netflix on and chill back and just wait a couple hours and take my next drink and like jump into the group. And you can do it that way and get like a certain kind of result, or you can do it in a way where you really step in with this incredible presence and
Mm.
attunement, and that has been my experience, is like deepening into like the bodily, emotional, even spiritual for me aspects of this experience. And it's been really phenomenal for me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's beautiful to hear. And yes, there are so many different ways of doing it. And I agree, you can get such incredible extra depth from it by
Mm,
practicing those mindful habits while you're doing it too. And not to discount fun as part of that as well, and usually the calls on that night are quite fun. As I describe it, it's a bit like having a slumber party because, the lights are low and generally people are in their jammies, and, we're just hanging out. They're short calls throughout the night, but they're just good little touch points, and there's
yeah.
some good questions, good sharings of how people are experiencing it differently, which just normalizes the whole process as
Mhm.
well. And like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I'm doing all right, and then
Yeah.
when you're talking about poo, there's always going to be some laughs as well. So
Yeah.
it's fun too. And back to what I was saying earlier on, that fun and the joy and the silliness are such
Mm.
important parts of it, even when we are working with things like anger and resentment too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there equally important. And I just want to reiterate again, particularly because anger can be such a scary thing for a lot of people. Even when we are talking about this and inviting little practices and experiments with this during the process, it again is in drop doses. Like we just turn the tap on to whatever your capacity is, and that's it. There's no pushing of anything. We're not here to re-traumatize anybody, like that's not the point. It's
Yeah.
to do it just have a little taste, a little nibble. Oh, a little, okay, I can have a bit of a bigger bite. And again, building the trust in yourself in the process, trust in yourself in the process. And again, that builds with experience. So, yeah, whether it's the physical health aspects or the emotional, spiritual aspects, bite doses, like bite-size pieces or drop doses, like whatever is required. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And those chats, like going live together throughout the Flush experience, you feel like you're a part of community, which is really special, and it does bring that lightheartedness to it, which I find I am a very deep person, not necessarily serious, but I do trend towards the
Yeah.
seriousness. Composure is a very big part of what I've sort of unpacked in my life. So it does lift it. It does lift it up so much. And the vulnerability, like the shares, like it really normalizes all the different experiences that you're having. And it just makes the whole experience feel just really wholesome, like
Yeah.
really, really wholesome, especially when you are working with your body, like especially when again when we're talking about poo and release and these kinds of things. It's so nice to just lift that up a little bit and experience it together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And that's one, yeah, I really love the community that we've got, and that continues to grow as well because or the alumni who keep returning and help also set the tone for new members coming in, and then it just keeps blossoming and blossoming. So it is one of those groups where you can come in, it's super supportive, encouraging, uplifting, real, like it's real,
It's real. It
Yeah.
is real. It is so real. Like I love how people just take themselves off mute. Like I find that so like it's so funny to me. I'm just like, oh, where did that person come from? And they're just like speaking in and they're like, I haven't been yet, or like
Mm,
I've been like 3 times now. I'm talking
yeah,
about going to the loo, right? So
yeah,
it's just, it does have that really beautiful sense that brings that lightheartedness to it. And you're right when you were saying before, I think as well how important that is when you're doing work like this,
a
just to
hundred
bring that.
percent. And another, like one more bit would be we're we're wired to belong, and that
Mm.
applies to our healing as well. We actually can't heal on our own.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot we can do on our own. There's a lot we can do one-on-one with another practitioner, absolutely. But
Mm.
there are parts of our journey that we need to be connected and witnessed by others.
Yeah,
And that was a big one for me to learn, because for me, that never felt like a safe space for
me
many,
too.
many years. And
Mm.
so I would only ever do one-on-one stuff, especially even with the kind of things that would normally be done in a group. I would find a mentor and do it
Yep,
one-on-one. Yeah.
same.
Doing it in a group was, I didn't want to admit it at the time, but that vulnerability terrified me. And then when I started doing more group work, I was like, oh, wow, okay. Because I always thought it wouldn't be as potent because you're not one-on-one, so you don't have the full attention of the one person,
Mhm.
but it's actually more potent.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And essential.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
when it's facilitated well, like the way you do it in the gallbladder flush, especially like that lightheartedness, that openness, that like you just hold such a powerful container that is, it's not serious, it is light. And you do feel like you can just unmute yourself and jump into the space. And
Yeah.
that is very healing to someone like me who
Yeah.
has a very similar experience to you. Like just witnessing these people just like bring themselves in and expose themselves and open themselves up like that that to me, like, again, this is why community is so powerful for our healing. That is healing to me. Like, to
Absolutely.
witness that and to then witness you engage with that in a way that's loving and kind and compassionate. That's healing for
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know? Yeah.
yeah. My philosophy is like everything is welcome. Everything that's real is welcomed, you know. And if we
Mm,
slip into something that's not really real, like, okay, why is that? And let's,
yeah.
notice that and then come back to realness, you know. So
Yeah.
no
Mm,
one needs to be anything other than who and where they are, you know. And I just think I guess that's delicious for me because that I didn't always feel that way. You know, a lot of masking, a lot of composure, a lot of no, I'm okay. I'm a strong, capable woman. You know, all of that kind of stuff. Um, and and also a shadow diver too. So I've gone to those places in myself. I know, and I can will continue to for forevermore. For me, doing all of this is oxygen. Um, so I know the dark, gritty, terrifying, uncomfortable spaces.
mm,
So I really honor anybody willing to go there, you know.
yeah.
And but the importance is going there in a way that is appropriate for you.
Mm,
You're in a good space for it, all of that kind of thing. Like again, we don't want to be pushing anything beyond its current limit or capacity. But
yeah.
yeah, just being real. I just respect being real, whatever that is. Yeah,
Yeah,
turn up
yeah,
as you are.
exactly. Whatever that is. And that's, yeah, that's the medicine for me too. Being in spaces like that is, as I said before, very healing because it's foreign to me. Like
Yeah,
it has been incredibly foreign to me. So it
yeah.
definitely adds just a layer of medicine to the
Mm.
experience. So just quickly with the gallbladder flush. So you're starting 1st of September because it's
Yeah.
seasonal, right? So going into spring.
Yeah, so really just to quickly touch on that,
Yeah.
it's not a coincidence that it's held in
Yeah.
spring. It's a very good time for detox. You know, winter's more about nourishment and replenishment for the rest of the year.
Mm,
So that's why, again, we start the process off with nourishing first as well. But spring, if we look at it from a TCM perspective, you know, it's the time of the liver and the gallbladder, the color green. Green
mm,
foods are really important. Sour and tart foods really important. So all of that's part of, 9v9 and the preparation. Um, it is that whenever we work with the rhythms and cycles of nature, we get a better result. You know, there's more ease in it and less push. Like if we were to do this in winter, ugh, it just would
yeah.
be more of a push experience.
Yeah.
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 Whereas doing it with spring, we can trust, okay, the cycles have me and the rhythms of nature have me. We're doing this together. It's not just me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why spring.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you for just bringing that because I think that's really, really special, really important too. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to bring into the space?
Oh, not that I can think of right now. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, we went
Talk about
everywhere.
for hours, but
Yeah, so good. Well, I'm going to link everything up in the show notes so people can go and have a look and have a little browse. Um, yeah, like you've got everything on the website. I'll grab the links from you. And like there's prerequisites and things like that, isn't there? Like there's
yeah, so there's a
yeah.
little checklist. There's a few situations where the gallbladder flush isn't appropriate, like if you're breastfeeding or pregnant or have an active inflammatory bowel disease, things like that. Um, so have a look at the checklist and just make sure you meet the criteria. And if you do, we'd love to see you in the group.
Yes, we would. How good. So,
Yeah,
so good.
yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll leave it there, but thank you so much. Thank you
Oh, my pleasure.
for your work, your heart, the wisdom, the love that you just bring into the world through your energy and your presence and the work that you're doing. It's needed and so valued, at least from my side of the street. I really value the work you're doing. And I'm really great to be in this small way, just a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been an honor to be sharing it with you, Ellen, and likewise, thanks for doing and holding the container of what you do for your community as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
This is what it's about, everybody expressing their gifts. Yeah. So.
Yeah, doing our best. Absolutely.